What's going on, guys? Today is the day where I'm going to reveal to you guys my color, which you guys should already know if I end up posting a video brand new car, but if not, check it out. Alright, what I'm trying to say is all goes to plan. The video before this is a video of Brandon's review. If not, or Brandon's car review. If not, boom, there's the color. A lot of you guys probably have seen it in little clips on Instagram or Snapchat. But the color that we decided to go with, Toyota 3R3 for the bottom and OG color, Toyota 123 for the roof. And let me go into depth of that. So obviously my car is not painted fully. It's tiger stripes. You can still see through it. It's not painted. I was gonna paint it, ran out of paint, ran out of time. Didn't end up painting it fully. That's why it's only a bit. But OG color 123. You guys remember my R7, Brandon's old X17 coupe. Ales's car is a different gray. It's not 123, but it is it's the OG color. We decided to change it up with this new red for the main part. That's how it's looking. But we wanted to keep something original from the old color, so we kept the gray for the roof, doing the other two tones for the middle. And if I haven't shown you guys Brandon's car yet, I'll make sure to put a picture of it right here. But if not, then I'll probably put the picture anyway. But yeah, I'm sure you guys have noticed the whole my videos cutting to black and white every time I went to the car, and then come back to color when I went away from it. That's just because the color was supposed to be a secret. It was supposed to be revealed at Jimmy Up Sunday Fun Day not Sunday Fun Day, at Jimmy Up Matsuri at Horse Lake. We were both supposed to be there showing off the new color, but unfortunately you guys know the car's not ready. The car's not ready for it. So that being said, unfortunately we couldn't reveal it the way we wanted to, but don't worry guys, once this car's done and we have both of the cars right next to each other, it's going to be so cool. It's going to be tight. But nonetheless, let's get on to today's topic and let's get these GKTech control arms installed. We got full GKTech rear suspension on here. We got GKTech subframe reinforcements, and we also have the GKTech eccentric lockout bolts. So today we got the big impact here, the big gun, with our 36mm. So we can zap off our other axles from the hub, get these 4 hubs off, that way we can have the arm and the knuckle to hold back on the car and get the 5 hook and crack it all on and all this stuff. So everything else is just axle stuff modified for G33 axle scopes conversions to the G axles. That's going to be another video. Inlet kit will be another video. Still waiting for the video. But we have pretty much everything for the rear end besides rotors. So I figured rotors and coilovers. So I figured I'll put a big chunk of the car and install the control arm. So I highly suggest if you guys don't have a big impact investment, this makes life $1,000 better. As you can see here, we already got this after that off. But with my FC, I didn't have one of these access to big impact. Could not get access off in the current state with it all apart. I was assuming that even with this, it's probably gonna have to hold the axle with like channel lock or a vice grip or something. Nothing to be holding that bad, as you can see. But once we go full blast, it's going to blast it and let off. Just like that, letting loose, you can have to hold that side. Index and tools is the best tool. Now that we got those 2 axle nuts completely off, because everything's all floppy and stuff, nothing to do with holding it. But with impact, like nothing. Okay, pull these 4 bolts out. Hub should separate. Even though we're not brand new ones, like I said, this isn't going to be our final product with this car. We still want to clean it up, so go ahead and spray it down with the degreaser, get all the dirt and grime off, close it down. That way we at least have clean parts. We're waiting for our knuckles to dry a little bit from good washing. We're going to go ahead and get our dual caliper brackets from Villans, as you guys know, with some high temp paint. I would probably, if I was going to go buy paint for this, I'd probably get brake calipers paint just because it's going to be right next to the brake calipers and the brake calipers and blah 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 blah. But I'm not going to go out and buy some. I have high temp paint here. It goes up to 500 degrees. Who knows how hot brakes get? I do the research, I'll tell you. But it's hot paint. It'll sand to some stuff. So that being said, let's hit this with some high temp black and get it all done. Alright, so now that the knuckles are all cleaner, caliper brackets, so those are still drying. So I guess we're going to take a quick pause, wait for those dual caliper brackets to dry, then we'll go ahead and jump back into it. I guess while we're waiting, we can go ahead and start adjusting our control arms, get them ready to get put on. So let's start off. I guess we can start off with our action arms. Let me look that up. But make sure it's centered. The dust boot is optional. I'm gonna run it just because, like I said, my tracks around here are dirt, and if you dirt drop around here, there's dirt everywhere. And also, it's just extra protection. Why not? So you want to make sure the heim is centered. Put the dust boot over it if you're gonna run it. Put your little spacer washer things in. Now you can reinstall the locking nut, which is in fact reverse threaded, by the way, so don't get confused. It's reverse threaded, you're not crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and install all the way up, that way we can just tighten it down later. And then start slipping these on to the safe part, and we'll measure it out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the time lapse, finish this arm up, and I'll get back to you guys when we move on to the next arm. Alright, so after taking it all apart and adjusting it and whatnot, and going through it, turns out the 8.58 inches of recommended length for the S13 is pretty much, it bottomed completely out. So nothing wrong with that. Let's just go ahead and tighten this all up and start putting it all together. But we got to do it to the other arm still, and we still have to adjust our camber arms and our toe arms. So now that this is set, I'm going to tighten up and work on those. Because it's pretty much the same steps for the camber and the toe arms, I'm just going to go ahead and time lapse through the whole thing and cut us installing the arms back on. I still have to tighten that up and install this, which we'll do next. But I want to point out one thing real quick. You want to make sure that you get these eccentric lockout bolts for your toe arm and your camber arm, because that now locks the position where it bolts onto the subframe in the center, and all adjustment will come from the arm itself. Factory comes with the eccentric lock nut or whatever it's called, which will move it slightly. Obviously with these arms you don't want that. You want it to be stuck in one spot, that way you don't have arms walking on you with it adjusting, you know what I mean? Second thing I want to point out, while I have this here, I saw this in Adam LZ's video and I really wanted to try it. There's been a lot of confusion in my friend group, at least, on what the wheel does on the S13 when it under squat and the compression, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, the control arms aren't set to length. Besides, the traction rod, this one, and the toe have to be adjusted. But if you see where it's at right now, it looks like it's towed in. And I'm not going to move you guys. I'm going to hold you guys in the same exact spot, right? When I under squat or compression, you can see that this will toe out. So let me grab this here. You see how that straightens out? It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but if you really look at it like this angle of this, when under squat or compression, pull it up, it straightens out, it toes itself out. So that's why a lot of people run like an eighth inch toe in. So under squat, it kind of will zero out, I'm assuming. But yeah, that proves my point. Let me get on to putting this back together. Alright, so now we got to bolt on the hub. But before we do that, we want to make sure we don't forget about our dual caliper brackets. So I'm pretty sure they are side specific. You want the caliper to be, you need the bracket that kicks the caliper up a little bit more. If this was on the other side, it would kick it down, which obviously it hit this. So, simple. All you do is feed the bolts through, and it sandwiches between the knuckle, or the spindle, and the control, and the hub. So let's go ahead and tighten that all up, and we'll get going with the next step. When you want to tighten your hub bolts, it's the 419s in the back, just like taking it off earlier, and you want to torque them down to 75 to 85. So I met in the middle at 80 foot-pounds of torque. Got the torque wrench there. And next, for the dual caliper bracket, you want to install this little shim that they provide before you put on the rotor, but we don't have the rotor yet, so we're going to hold off on that. But the Villans instructs you that you have to grind down the casting here, and pretty much that's because the caliper hits the back of this, the caliper that they provide. So what I'm doing is pretty much you gotta shave the shape of the bracket. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mark that. Actually, I'm not even gonna mark it. I'm just gonna go ahead and bring the flat disc over and start grinding away at that. Oh my god, that was so much grinding, but it fits out. Let me show you guys that. Quite a bit. If you look at the bracket, it pretty much forms with the same arc as the bracket. Let me show you guys the stock knuckle here. There you can see how much we trimmed off. So pretty much this whole edge almost we trimmed out, and then we even went into here a bit, which this is a really thick and beefy knuckle, so you don't have to worry about taking away any structural rigidity. But yeah, that was a lot of grinding. My ears are ringing, but yeah, let's just go ahead and see what else we can do. Out of the rear on already, so we shaved down the caliper like I showed you guys, or not the caliper but the knuckles to fit the caliper. It's not bolted on, but if you take a look there, it clears now. You can see with it off, it sits right in the spot, and when you slide it in there, it fits just in there. So that's clearance enough. We got a caliper in there. While I had the caliper here, I figured I might as well figure out the routing for the brake lines. So we threw the stock shock in here just to see where it would be. And obviously you want to keep it away from moving parts, so I didn't want the brake line to go straight into, because this is where it is, the T. I didn't want it to go straight here and be in the way of all these moving parts. So I figured out a way to route it. I got these the P clamps here. It comes out of the T, loops around, bolts into there so it holds it against the frame rail. Another P clamp right there, and then it loops around here, and then I put a little rubber hose here to protect it from that, just so it can protect it from like chafing through the line. And I went ahead and cycled it through. So let me kick this jack stand out, lift it up a little bit. So if I lift this up, kick that out, this is at full droop. Still has some slack, so where it's not pulling on it, just like the stock brake lines. And then at full compression, which it'll never reach, no kinking and nothing. So we're all good there. That being said, this side's pretty much done, but we still need to get the rotor for it, so we'll pick that up later on. And for you guys, it'll be like in the next clip. But that being said, this side's pretty much done. I don't want to bore you guys with doing the other side, so let's go ahead and just finish the other side, and then maybe we can move on to the front. We'll see. While I'm here, I also want to show you guys the reason you get the angled toe arms instead of the straight ones, because it gives it that little angle here, that little kink. And when you're at full compression, if I can lift this up, you'll see that it barely clears that with the angled control arm. Now imagine that with the straight rod, it'd already be hitting the stud or the little cup here. So that's another reason why you get angled toe arms.